Today we're going to be learning about the water cycle. Now, how old do you think the water in this glass is? The water in this glass has pretty much been around since the beginning of the earth. Now, how can that be, you say? And that's because the earth has a limited amount of water, and that water keeps going around, and around in what's called the water cycle. And the water cycle is made up of 4 parts. The first part is evaporation. Evaporation is when the sun heats up the water in the rivers, lakes, or oceans and turns it into vapor or steam. The water vapor or steam leaves the rivers and lakes and goes into the air. Now you can see this glass of water, which was at first filled to the top of the black line, has evaporated, and now the level of the water is lower than it was to begin. That's an example of evaporation. Now the second part of the water cycle is condensation. And that's when water vapor in the air gets cold and changes back into liquid, forming clouds. This is called condensation. You can see the same sort of thing at home when you pour a cold glass of water on a hot day and you see what happens. Water forms on the outside of the glass. Now water doesn't somehow leak through the glass. It actually comes from the air outside the glass, and the water vapor turns back into liquid when it touches the cold glass. That's the second part of the water cycle. The third part of the water cycle, I'm sure you're all familiar with, is called precipitation. Precipitation occurs when so much water has condensed that the air cannot hold it anymore. The clouds get heavy and water falls back to the earth in the form of rain, sleet, or snow. And the fourth and final part of the water cycle is collection. And that's when water falls back to the earth as precipitation. It may fall back in the oceans, lakes, or rivers, or it may end up on land. When it ends up on land, it will either soak into the earth and become part of the groundwater that the plants and animals use to drink, or it may run over the soil and collect in the lakes, oceans, or rivers where the cycle starts again. Now you can see, A is evaporation. That's when the water evaporates and goes back, is heated up by the sun and goes back into the air. It condenses, forming clouds. Now when the clouds get so saturated and heavy that it can't hold the water vapor anymore or liquid, it falls back down to the earth as precipitation, as rain, sleet, or snow. When it falls back down to the earth, it becomes collected either in the groundwater or the lakes, rivers, and oceans, where it again gets heated up by the sun, forming evaporation, and its continuous water cycle never ending. And that's why the water in this glass is the same water that was at the beginning of the earth.